Hey guys, Kev here again from sunny Sydney. In lockdown as per government restrictions, so no racing. Haven't been racing the last 3-4 weeks now. Sad times. But it's given me time to share some of my little hints and tips with you, and hopefully some of you will find it useful, not too boring, and we'll get something from it. So no further ado, I'll go through a couple of things on the Kyosho MP10 TKI2. Okay, shout out to Ricky Designs as well. Body looks awesome, man. Thank you. Okay, first and foremost, this is a beginner one, but throttle return spring. I see a lot of guys come to the track and have runaways, break their $500 engines. We don't want that happening to anyone. So real 50-cent piece of equipment saves a day. So what I've got in here, I've got a little elastic band, and as you can see, just pulls my carby closed. So a little throttle return spring, I've got it. I did have another engine here somewhere, but it's all good. It's all good. You can see what's going on there. What I've done, there was a grub screw that goes into the carby slide on this, on the ball link. Basically, I've replaced that grub screw with a little 2mm button head screw, and yeah, use that for put elastic band around it, and it stops my throttle staying open if I ever run away. Okay, that's a nice easy one out the way. Now, one of the things that can cause a DNF with the MP10 and the MP9 did as well. Basically, on the rear upper links, what they basically got these ball ends. It's an actual threaded ball end. Normally, what happens is your 3mm screw goes into that ball end, and we Loctite it in place. But what can happen? We change roll center, we forget to re-Loctite it. When we screw it back in again, we have a ball link that comes undone and finishes your race on you, so we don't want that. So what I've done, I've replaced it with this. So if you look here, that's the screw I put in. That's what screw normally sits in there. Okay, so this screw goes all the way through it, all the way through the ball end. Let's make sure I've got my ball center right. Goes all the way through the ball end, and then what we do, we put this cap screw, flanged nut on the end. And the reason I'm using a flanged nut, I'll show you now. So you might be thinking, oh, that's going to be a pain to tighten. All we use is our turnbuckle wrench, 5.5mm that you use for all the turnbuckles on the Kyosho car, and just go over it quickly to tighten it back up. And geez, what you can do is then go back in and let the gel do the work for you, and that's nice and tight. Okay, probably takes an extra 30 seconds to change roll centers because you've got to hold on to this nut now and undo it first, but that's locked in place, that's not going anywhere. I do that on the front and on the rear, and yeah, stops it coming undone. Real good little tip for you. Now another little tip, another little cheap one. I use, if any of you had CVD cars, your Mugans, and I've actually got CVDs on this now. Savoya advised me it was a good thing for this car, just generates a little bit more steering, which is always a good thing. But basically, this is the barrel of inside the CVD. It's an old worn out one, and I use that to basically retain the muffler as well as the screw that's in the muffler. So basically locks it in place. So if that one in there ever comes undone, it's a 2.5mm Kev, if that ever comes undone, I've got that as a backup, which is a nice little security feature. What else have we got here? On the talking of manifold, on the exhaust, got Kyosho made these manifold supports. It's a little plastic insert that sits in there. You screw it up from underneath. What it does, stops your manifold going down. When we land big jumps and the car lands, this doesn't move and break gaskets. So that's a nice little cheap fix for that. We've also got my XT60 switch. Cameltown Hobbies does sell these. No switch in play. Basically, this is an XT60 connector, and this bit of wire here is acting like the switch. And plug it in, and it's nice and secure. And to make it even more secure, what I did do to mine, don't know if you can see that, I've actually dremeled a little bit of this away, because the nuts, or I should say the screws that hold the bottom part in place can protrude and foul on this. So I just dremeled a tiny bit away so this slides all the way in and is nice and secure. And I basically used a cable tie with a cable lug to just stop losing it in pit lane. A couple of mates have lost theirs recently, and ended up finding it in his flywheel halfway through the race and it stalled his engine. You know who you are. Anyway, we won't go into that. What else? What other tips have I got for you? Shock nuts is not a bad little tip. The Kyosho cars. The top of the shock caps are quite, I'll undo this and I'll show you. They sit flush with the outside of that. So this plastic insert that sits in there sits flush with it. Now, if we put our shock nut on the normal way, the way the manual says, that's flush. What happens? It binds on this and stops the shock being able to move. So we put it on, just put the shock nut on backwards. And that prevents that. And it's also the nylons, you're going through the nylon first, so the nylon is on the whole length of the thread, which is another little positive. It keeps it locked into place. What else have we got here? Tell you what we should look at. Kyosho have made a small error in the manual. Well, not in the manual, in the, I'd say in the fitting of these rear what are they called? Your wheelbase shims, right? They're normally plastic. I put aluminium ones on only because they're a bit trick and they're always slidey, never any binding. And that's what I'm trying to get to here. I want to show you. Just get this out of the way. There we go. You want this as free as possible. Can you see that? It's falling under its own weight. No resistance at all. Now, if you build your kit as per manual, the spaces it comes with are basically too thick. They're too wide, and you do have to file them down. Now, what you don't want, see this, I've got very minimal play back in two, which is what you want. You don't want to file them down to a point where this is moving a heap, and you got so much play, it just causes handling issues. But if it's bound up, it will cause even worse handling issues, and the car just does not respond to any setup changes. And you just chase your tail going, why you want my car handle? And that is one of the main reasons why. I'll put this back together. far as setup is concerned, it's pretty standard affair. I've changed, while I'm at the back end here, I've just remembered something else. These mud scrapers, they're slightly angled upwards, so that slides in. So if you can imagine the wheel turning this way and it's full of mud on a wet race, the mud, instead of it getting stuck underneath and staying there, because it's angled slightly, it removes the mud from inside the wheel and deflects it out, which is a good thing. The other thing that Kyosho have had an issue with, and they did have an issue with the MP9, but I've just carried it through. The fuel line always used to split where it meets the fuel filter, so I've put some heat shrink on there, and that basically reinforces it. I haven't seen or heard of any issues with the MP10s, but the MP9 was an issue, and I've always done it, so I've kept it in play. This elastic band here, it's basically, I've cut 2 slots in my fuel splash guard, and basically I just get the elastic band, stick it around there, and what that does, get that in, it just prevents this, it holds the filter to the clamp that's underneath and stops it coming undone and bouncing around in the car during the 1 hour finals or whatever we're racing, you know, the longer mains anyway. I can't think of anything else really too special that I can share at the moment. I'm sure I'll think of something, but anyway, have a good day and stay safe in this COVID times. Thanks guys, bye.